Thank you.
Welcome, Amir Tsarfati, for the first time to Abundant Life. We hope it won't be your last time.
No, it will
We are
not.
so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Amir is working on a sermon that he's not prepared to preach yet, but we're going to kind of talk about some of that. Israel, what's next? So Amir, October the 7th, a day that's forever changed. Not just the nation of Israel, but the world. Tell us about October the 7th, because a lot of people, they think they know, but they don't know what Israel is up against and why they are absolutely, completely committed now to the destruction of Hamas. Why is it so important that Hamas be stopped?
So, as you know, Israel is back in the land since the late 1800s, and the state of Israel was born, as Isaiah 66 predicted, within a matter of hours. We had to decide whether to declare statehood or not when the Brits told us that they're leaving. Can a nation be born at once? Isaiah asked, and of course it was. But from the very beginning, we knew that we have an issue with the enemy that hates God and cannot fight God, and therefore it comes against the people of God. And so don't be mistaken, but in 1929, we were already massacred in Hebron before Israel was a state. And we were massacred by the same people that are now trying to kill us again. And no one talks about that. But we are talking about an ongoing attempt to stop the plan of God, to bring the people of God back to the land of God, to fulfill the plan of God. And that's what we are witnessing. And unfortunately, I must say, many of the Jewish people in the land of Israel grew complacent, and the country is doing very well, obviously throughout the 90s and 2000, and Israel economy is just skyrocketing. We're from a country that was on the verge of annihilation in 1948 until 1967 is now one of the major powers in the world. A lot of people decided that it's our time to be part of the world. And to be part of the world meant for many of us to stay away from that which makes us different. We want to be accepted, so we run away from that which makes us different. It's something, by the way, that God warned us from day one, and it's something that even Balaam, when he wanted to curse and found himself blessing, he said, from far away I see a nation not reckoning itself among all the others. But I want you to know that Israel was torn before October 7th. So many people hated their Jewish identity, hated their Jewish background and Jewish, I guess, who they are and what we're doing here. We began to apologize for being here, just like it happened to you guys now. I mean, I see so many similarities between what's going on in Israel and what America is going through right now. Wokeism, liberalism, progressive mindset took over. The day before October 7th, the Supreme Court was to deliberate and to decide whether Jews can pray in the streets of Tel Aviv. Can you imagine? That's how torn and divided we were. And then came October 7th. It was actually 4:30 in the morning when we already detected some very, very unusual movements. Apparently, for months, the soldiers along the border warned and said and talked and screamed and tried to get their commanders to do something. But when it got to the top brass of the military intelligence, it stopped right there. It stopped right there because many of the top brass military generals were involved to their neck with politics and were not happy with Netanyahu. And so it stopped right there because it stopped right there. And it's interesting because that night, all the signs were there, and yet the order was not given to the forces on the ground to get ready. The conception was that Hamas is deterred, that what we're watching is probably another exercise, military exercise, which they've been conducting for the last few months. To be honest, even the Hamas terrorists thought that it's an exercise. And only an hour before, they were told, no, this time is for real. So very few people in the very top command of Hamas knew today we're doing it. The rest thought maybe it's another exercise. And what happened at 6:29, a heavy barrage of rockets, mortar shells, along with drones that dropped bombs, snipers that hit all the cameras along the border, and we basically blinded they blinded the Israeli military from even seeing what's happening along the border. Simultaneously, on top of Toyota pickups, on top of motorcycles and 4x4s, they managed to breach 15 places along the fence. And the first thing they did, they slaughtered the military presence along the border that they could. And then they approached their prize, civilians. They came ready and armed to kill as many as possible in the most sadistic, barbaric way possible. The amount of weapons and explosives and RPGs and the amount of weapon they had with them was enough to kill at least 100,000 people. And the maps we found in their bags showed that they had a plan to invade way deeper, to take over 2 strategic military air bases, to kill all the pilots and to destroy all of the aircrafts on the ground. And more so, I will say, now I can say it, I couldn't say it until a week ago, they had plans to take over some strategic military installations that had some other types of weapon. That if I told you, I'll have to kill you. The worst part, you see, I have no problem when a war is between soldiers and soldiers. It's between armed people and armed people. But the worst part happened when local Palestinians that worked in the Jewish communities along the border led other civilians that came in the second wave to a celebration of looting, raping, beheading, burning, and chopping to pieces people whom they knew. People who helped them, gave them work, gave them food. People who rallied for them. People who drove them to hospitals within Israel. People who were on the left side of the Israeli map, on the ones that was the most pro-Palestinian you can find. These are the first to be slaughtered in ways that I don't want to defile your souls right now. But we had to assemble bodies because we found piles of heads and piles of legs and piles of hands. In some cases, we had to call in for archaeologists because the fire consumed the body to the point that there is no DNA. We need to now identify them by their teeth and their jewelry. In a case of a girl, 25-year-old from a neighboring town where I live, she was part of the music festival. For 7 weeks, we didn't know where she is at. And you have to understand, hundreds of people were slaughtered in a very small area where the participants of that festival were. Rape was not occasional, it was systematic. From investigations that we did as we interrogated all those whom we captured alive, there was a commander just for the rape. They actually not only premeditated, prepared it, but they appointed someone just for that. You would think that you know what rape is. No, you don't. Because we found women in complete splits position. Their pelvises, their legs, their ribs, everything was broken. And those animals would continue to rape them until they pulled their gun and shot them in the head, and then continued raping a dead body, which is completely broken to pieces. We found not one, not two, dozens of bodies like that, even of males. Male genitalia was cut off, and we found dozens of them everywhere. They were sadistic. So when we find bodies 5 hours or 2 days later, we think he's dead. What we now know is that there were 3 hours of torture. Because only now the survivors begin to talk. Many of them attempted suicide. Some of them were forcibly admitted to mental hospitals because they completely lost it. Because they witnessed the most horrific atrocities mankind could ever see. In kibbutzim, along the border, there are kibbutz is a type of community where children have their own homes, where somebody is taking care of them. That was the best thing that ever happened to those savages, because they took all the children and burned them alive, piling them up. A pregnant woman was captured. They opened her body, pulled the baby, and stabbed and killed the baby while still connected with the umbilical cord. We have never seen things like that in the Holocaust. We haven't seen even ISIS performing things like that. What was done in ways and fashion and manner and that shocked the Israelis. So we're a post-trauma nation right now. For us, there is a monster that wants to kill us, and the choice is simple. Either it kills us or we kill it. There's no other option. What we do now is deal with the monster. But I will tell you, I could see the hand of God in 3 different aspects. 7 months ago, I wrote an article where I quoted sources that said that the grand plan of the Iranian regime is to have Israel destroyed by activating all their proxies simultaneously. From Syria and Iraq, from Lebanon, from Gaza, from the West Bank, and from Yemen. And actually now, when we are inside Gaza and we find Hamas outposts, we found all those plans. That's exactly the plan. That was the plan. But Hamas jumped the gun too early with the hope that he will inspire everyone else to join. They just didn't understand that that's not what the Iranians wanted. The Iranians were angry, shocked that Hamas did that to them. All their work to surprise Israel and to destroy it at once went down the drains, because now we're going to destroy Hamas, we're going to push Hezbollah far away, and we are at the highest alert, and we already know their plan. That's a miracle. Another miracle that I see is that the Israelis woke up from this illusion that someone on the other side wants to live next to us in peace. We woke up to understand what they're now openly chanting, that from the river to the sea, they do not want to see me. You understand? We woke up to understand that there is no one to talk to and nothing to talk about. There is no chance for a two-state solution. The Palestinian Authority is more of the same. And we woke up from that progressive mindset that we even need to apologize for being where God is the one who brought us into. And the last thing I will say is that we see a major exodus of Jews from secular life, from hedonism and materialism, towards belief in God. And everyone who goes into Gaza will not now, all they know is Judaism. For them, this is how I can practice my faith in God. And not a single soldier, even though he comes from the most secular background, would now want to enter into Gaza and fight without having his phylactery and yarmulke and prayer shawl and all we hear now. I don't know if you're following me on Telegram, but listen, I posted this morning a group of infantry soldiers that right before they entered, they went together, hugged each other, and sang, "I believe in the coming of the Messiah." That's what they sang. I choose to look at this, the good things, but I am so angry, so sad, so enraged, not from what they did to us, that's a given, but from how the world is now reacting.